Hello everyone and welcome back to my candid world. In today's video, I'm going to be talking a bit about the books that I've been reading for the month of November and I guess a little bit of a sneak peek into what I'm currently reading now for December. If you don't know, I am a huge reader. I spent a lot of my past summer during my internship, during my free time, just absolutely devouring books. And I think I got through at least 3 to 4 in like 1 month, in like the month of June or July during the internship. And I think I scared my co-interns quite a bit because they hadn't realized I was such a bookworm. But typically during the start of any semester at college, I have this time where I don't really I'm not really able to read books as much as I'd like, especially with so much going on. But later on in the semester, I remembered, hey, I have a ton of books on my to be read list and I have quite a few of them here with me. So I'm starting to get back into that groove of reading again. And so this past November, I got to finish 2 books and I am in the progress of starting one right now, or I've started one right now for December. And truly, I would have gotten through more books if I had brought a second book with me on my Thanksgiving break trip back home, because I ended up finishing 90% of the book that I brought with me on the flight there. So by the time I actually landed, I was able to finish the rest of the book that very first day, and I was like, oh well, dang, what do I do now? So I started one of the Kindle books that I have, because I have a split between my Kindle library, which has some books that I want to read and that I've already purchased because I rack up Kindle points, and then books that I have here with me in my dorm. So I'm able to maybe carry one around in my book bag or something, especially if I'm not really wanting to spend so much screen time, but wanting to just really actually feel the book in front of me. I try to balance between those two, but it does get into times like right now during finals where I'm not progressing through the book that I'm reading as quickly as I usually would, because finals, they're stressful, they take up a lot of time, and I have to put my academics and my degree, above the joy of books, unfortunately, because that is the world we live in. But I digress. I will get right into talking about the books that I've read this past month. Starting off with the one that I actually read via Kindle, so I don't have the physical book with me, and that is going to be Red Queen by Marissa Mayer, I believe. Please correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I read this off Kindle, or not, I should clarify. Yes, it was on Kindle, but I did the digital borrow system for the public library back home. So I requested a hold on the book, got it delivered to my Kindle, and I actually have a hold on the second book in the series right now, but it is taking a very long time to get it. I think I started 5th or 8th on the hold list, and now I'm 3rd, and it's already been a month. So that's why I'm reading another book in the meantime, because that's, the caveat with using the public library system for holds. If a book is, very high in demand, then you're going to have to probably wait a while before you can actually get your hands on that book. But in my opinion, I feel like it's a good balance, because if I don't like the book, I didn't pay money for it, but I did support the public library system. So there's that, and you can also request books through the library too, so you're helping the authors by saying, hey, so-and-so library, I'm interested in this book, but you don't have it, will you buy it? And at least in my case, they've bought quite a few of them. So yeah, I'll start talking about Red Queen. I guess I will put a disclaimer at this point, I may be discussing spoilers, but for the beginning of this, I will keep it spoiler free in case you're interested in the book and you just want a little taste, is this the kind of book for me? Because, everybody hates to get spoiled when they didn't know it was going to happen. Side note, I once saw this edit on TikTok that included spoilers for a show. Why was the spoiler warning in the caption? Mama. You were so close. So you're telling me you didn't forget to put your tag and whatnot on the edit, but you couldn't put a spoiler warning? we cannot be spoiling critical plot points like this. Imagine new show comes out, you're like, oh, new season of Arcane, I'm so excited. I'm kind of bored right now. Let me do a little bit scrolling at TikTok. Boom, major plot point. It's a sick cold world we live in, y'all. Stay safe though. I read old books for the most part, so it's because my to be read list keeps growing. Anyways, so to discuss the Red Queen, I also have my little iPad here for my little notes. I'm feeling very professional right now. So the main character of Red Queen is called Mare Barrow. Okay, name. Very, very plain Jane. We love. And this is a sort of high fantasy dystopian world where it's like not necessarily the Hunger Games, but imagine like that same separation of class that exists in the Hunger Games between, the rich and the poor. But it's like, it's biological. Like it's a biological differentiation. So it's not just, oh, you're poor. It's, oh, you're a red because you have red blood, whereas I'm a silver because I have silver blood. So it's like a fundamental like genetic difference between the two that has elevated the silvers upon, the destruction of the reds. And another caveat with this is if you have silver blood, you have some kind of power based on like your genetic disposition. Maybe your mom can manipulate water, maybe your dad's like an ice guy, so maybe your genetic power is one of those or some sort of mix between the two. There's a lot of creative freedom with the abilities that exist within this, and it's like, okay, we're set up in this world where Mare very obviously has a huge distaste and fear for the silvers, but not to the extent of maybe others in her surroundings. We're able to see very clearly that, oh, Mare has more of a medium like distaste where, she has that pain, she has that anger, but never to the point where she would put herself or her family in danger. There's a lot of little bits about this world that, keep the reds down and continue to uplift the silvers. Stratification is one hell of a. But there's like a system where if you don't have a job as a red, then you will be placed into the army to fight war. There's basically a long, never-ending war that's going on in this world, kingdom against kingdom. And it's important to, mention that all of these kingdoms have this system of reds are below silvers. So there's not a single like, oh, this kingdom is able to do it, why aren't we? Every single kingdom has made the choice to subjugate their reds because it gives you power. It gives you people on the field to fight your wars, to fight your battles. And then you can strategically use your silvers against their silvers. But the strategies of war that are used within this world start to get a little bit more terrifying as you go into it. What can I say about this book that won't spoil it? I think Mare is a very interesting character because she has a lot of inner conflicts that are going on. I'm trying to figure out how critical this like one plot point is, but it appears early enough on in the book, and it's kind of like one of the main things. But however, I will say I'll finish up the spoiler-free description of the book, and then we'll go into the, hey, this is what it's about. And I will say, like, generally throughout this novel, we're following this conflict between the reds and silvers through Mare, who has a very unique input into both sides of that life. If you're interested, like, how she has that input, pick up the book or wait until we get into the spoiler aspect of it. I will say overall, I did feel like this first book had a very cliche ending. At some point, you're like, oh, is this where it's going to go? And you're just seeing it play out. You're like, I knew this is how it was going to go. There's like very typical, oh, like major betrayal happens. And you're like, oh, I totally didn't see that happening. In my case, I did see it happening. It felt very like, oh, this is clearly being built up in this way because this relationship, this dynamic feels a bit superficial. I will say not a huge fan of the romance in this. It's definitely not like the main plot point, but it just felt so like synthetic. It felt like a trauma bond in a way, and especially with the way that this book leaves you on a cliffhanger, very like obviously set up for like, oh, but I wonder what will happen when we do this. So it's like, it's a clear setup for a sequel. And I don't hate clear setup for sequels. I just hate when it feels like something's being rushed to end, maybe, a lot faster than it should have ended, and that there could have been more of a build up and more of a natural progression into, okay, even if I didn't read the second book, there was, an end to this arch, but it's like the plot arch is like started here, and it's like you have to go to the next book because there's like a huge other part of the arch missing, and you either have to go back the way you came or jump off the arch. So, my one little caveat. I will say from this point on, if you are interested in this book and you do not want to be spoiled, hello, go ahead and skip for me. If I remember, I will put a little timestamp here for when the next spoiler-free review begins, and then you can go into that. But it's time to get into the nitty-gritty because I can't keep tiptoeing around these key details. All right, you were warned. So let's get into a mixture of my gripes and, what I did like about this book. I will say, just to start it off, I rate it somewhere between like a 3.25 to 0.75 out of 5. It's a good book, but I can't say that it's great. I feel like if you're looking for a good fantasy depiction of like, that race class divide and, sort of like our world, but in a fantastical way, there are plenty of other books that can do it maybe in a better, more skilled way. I'm not going to, point to the tried and true, the Hunger Games and Diversion and whatnot. Obviously, those are good old, like, core versions of this trope, but I think there are some other ones as well that you can maybe look into, and I'm happy to do a little video on that. But as I mentioned before in the spoiler-free ending, or spoiler-free portion of this video, the ending just felt very abrupt. Just to give sort of like a deep dive in, now that we don't care about spoilers, Mare is revealed pretty early on in the book to be red-blooded, but to have silver powers. And there's sort of this like, well, how is this possible? Because her entire family is normal. They're all regular red bloods. And in this moment of conflict where she's working in the arenas that they sort of have, so like silvers can like battle against each other and practice their skills and whatnot, she has an outbreak of her powers, and immediately, the king and the queen are like, we need to like wrap this up quick. We don't know how this happened, but we cannot let this become like a symbol because otherwise people will be feared. Our structure of power will like topple over, yada, yada, yada. So she's, brought in. She's like forced to take on this new identity. She's a long lost silver princess. They engage her to the youngest son. It's like boom, boom, pow. We have taken control of this situation as soon as possible in order to prevent anything from happening. And so for majority of this novel, we're watching Mare as she's like trying to fight the system from within. She's having to pretend to be the silver princess. She cannot see her family or interact with them until she comes into contact, or she decides to like, strengthen her connection that she previously had with select members of this sort of revolutionary movement against the Silvers. For the life of me, I cannot remember their name right now, but they're very like, we will do what we have to do for freedom and revolution. If lives have to be lost, if people have to be killed, we will do so. And so, there's this bit of a like dynamic between Mare and them where she's like, I want to help you, but I'm also starting to grow a bit of an attachment to some of these people because she's like had this realization, well, not all silvers are bad, but it's complicated because they're still benefiting off of the system where silvers are above red, and they're not necessarily willing to jeopardize their position, even though they may be good people, to sort of help her to that extent. And of course, there are some exceptions. There are some silvers who are willing to put themselves out there for her, but it's like this constant lesson of like, there's good and bad people on both sides. And sort of throughout this, we see how she becomes sort of a partner in crime with the second prince, and it's like, oh, how cute, he's a silver, but at heart he really wants to change the world and to start a revolution. And she starts to become distanced and sort of disgusted with the first prince who actually landed her that job in that arena and who she initially had this romantic connection with. And she's like, I can't believe like you're gonna become king and you don't want to do anything to change this. Like, you're so hypocritical. You say, oh, this is our system, this is how things should be, but I'm a part of that system too. Like, my family, the people I love and care about, are being brutalized, and this is being done to them, and you just don't care enough to jeopardize your position as the next in line to throne. And so it's like, oh, she's becoming distant from the first prince. She's becoming closer to the second prince, who's like helping her, who's put himself out there and who's joined this revolution movement. Can you guess what the cliche betrayal is? She's like, first prince, I know you have feelings for me, so like, please, won't you help me? And he's like, no, ma'am. And in this moment where she's like, I thought she literally has such a pick me moment, guys. She's like, she listens to the second prince, who tells her that, oh, like, I see the way my brother looks at you. He still likes you. He still wants to be with you. He would like do this for you. And so there's this plan to like use him to get the revolutionaries into the capital to like fight and take over the throne, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Like, he does care for me. I'm sure somewhere in there he still has that, like, that love for me, that initial connection we had. Of course, she's embarrassed. He's like, girl, what the fuck? And he's like, so you were behind this the whole time? Like, I can't believe you, yada, yada, yada. Like, I'm taking you to the king. And she's like, wait, no, like, that wasn't supposed to happen. I literally, like, goosebumps around my spine where she's like, this isn't you. Like, I know you care for me, so you would do this for me. Please stand up, girl. Like, please, pretty please stand up. And then the big hoo-ha, the big betrayal is that the first prince wasn't even it was actually the second prince that was the betrayer. Him and his mother had this whole elaborate plot to use Mare and to be like, oh my god, like, I can't believe yada 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 yada. They get into this like discussion with the king. The king's like, oh, you seduced my youngest son, the second prince. Like, he would never do this. And the mom's like, yeah, he would never do this. I can't believe this red girl seduced my son into doing this, because it's important to, I forgot to mention this, the current queen is only the mother of the second son. The first prince's mother is dead for, complicated reasons that do involve the second prince's mother, the current queen. And they're like, well, like, my second son will like do something for you, but we have to kill the red girl. And then there's this main struggle, this conflict where suddenly the queen and the second prince flip on the king. They force the first prince, because the queen has this sort of like controlling power that the king wasn't really aware of. They force the first prince to kill his father, frame him and Mare as they're trying to overthrow the throne, even though, so do we all just forget that the second prince was part of this? People can be manipulated so easily, y'all, and that is one good thing that this book shows. Like, it is so easy to change and control a narrative if you're quick enough and if you're skilled. So boom, she's like, I can't believe the second prince would betray me like this. Like, I don't know, I was expecting someone a little bit smarter, a little bit more cutthroat. You're a red pretending to be silver in a silver world. Like, you need to be smart. You need to be manipulating and, like, being cute about these relationships and never letting yourself be the one being manipulated and being used. She failed all that. She boo-boo the fool. She's getting manipulated by the revolutionaries in a way, because obviously they want to use her. She's getting manipulated by the second prince, the first prince, I don't know who she's not being manipulated by right now. So yeah, surprise, surprise. Now they're on the run, and the second prince is all like, yeah, this was all my plan. Like, I'm actually worse than my brother. I really don't see red as anything more than like scum beneath my feet. Those feelings you thought I had for you, silly. This was all a part of my plot to become the first prince and to take over the throne. But you felt bad for me. You're like, the second prince, he's always being like cast aside for his older brother. Boo the fool. Now he's out to get her. He's out to kill her and his own brother. He don't care. He's securing that throne, y'all. Him and his mom locked in like this. So, I feel like the way that this was positioned, where like the main betrayal and stuff is happening in these last like 100 pages of the book, you're like, whoa, slow down. You showed us 1,000,001 like chapters of her training and like falling in love or whatever with these boys, then be like, hey, boom, betrayal. I just feel like there could have been more of a progression between like what's happening with the revolutionary movement, what's happening with her, in the kingdom. She wasn't even used that much by the king and the queen for their like propaganda as like the long lost silver princess. Like she used to live among the reds and now she's risen up. Like they only used her maybe 2 or 3 times. I feel like there should have been more of that, like, like that Katniss in the Capitol dynamic where like there's this whole point where as the winner she's supposed to be a symbol of hope for the districts, but the Capitol's like, let's retcon that, and they're using her to like uplift the Capitol and whatnot. I feel like there could have been a little bit more like balance of that. She really wasn't even utilized that much, but maybe that changes in the like next 3 books. So overall, yeah, like a 3.5 out of 5 I'd say for this book. So I'd say like that falls within the category of I'd recommend it, sure, but it's like it's an okay read, and I'm going to follow through with the series to see if maybe there's more of a pickup or if I enjoy those other books more. But if I didn't read the rest of the series, I'd say I'd be perfectly fine with that. Like it would be like, okay, I read that and I read it and I'm moving on with my life. One thing I will say though is they hate to set up the main girl with the younger brother or the second brother. It's always the first one. I was like, oh, this is new. This is revolutionary. She doesn't want the older firstborn. She wants the secondborn. No, she don't. I can already see they're gonna like go from like, what was it? It's like lovers to enemies, like lovers again. Boo, boring. Like wrap it up, honestly. But whatever. I'll let her have her little moment. Truly, this was my way. No romance. This is dystopian. This is war. At the very core of it, why is she falling in love with a silver after everything that they've done to her and her family? She has lost kin over this. Like, she has watched a best friend die. Why is she sleeping with the enemy? Anyways. So that will conclude my review of The Red Queen. The second book that I read during this cycle was If You Could See the Sun by Anne Leong, and this was a great book. I personally, of course, it has its caveats. I will not say it's a perfect book, but overall, 4 out of 5. But actually, before we get into this, I do want to plug my Goodreads. It's new. You will not be seeing the old Goodreads I had when I had a Nook and the little Kindle tablets. Yeah, that Goodreads will be buried, but I have a new one, a more chic one. It has some of my more recent reads on it, and I will put the link to that in the description of this video if you're interested in seeing what are the books I've read, what are the books I'm reading, what are some of the reviews I've had, and what are the books that I want to read. So go holla at your girl over at Goodreads, see what I'm talking about. But anyways, getting to If You Could See the Sun, I feel like this is a really great, really cute, like romantic subplot of academic rivals to lovers. But at its core, interestingly enough, it does have that like race and class divide that's quite critical to the story, as our main character is a scholarship student at a very expensive international school within China. And Lord knows I understood that. Like I felt an affinity to her from the start. For those of you who don't know, I've been educated at predominantly white institutions for like most of my life, starting in middle school, and for scholarship because the family don't got them full tuition money. It's really grimy out here actually. Like I think even within high school, like $50,000 or something for the year. These are college tuition prices. I don't even want to talk about current college tuition. In high school, they were charging other people college tuition prices. So that's the kind of like thing that I grew up in. So I just like seeing her journey, seeing that like I have to put like double the effort everyone else has to in order to succeed, because everybody else has something else going for them. They don't necessarily have to be academically successful. Her mom's a model. His dad's a businessman. His dad's a lawyer. His dad donated this and this and that. She doesn't have any of that. She's building up like something for herself from scratch through the only way she can, and that's by being good at school. And it's not even that she's like naturally smart, that she's naturally genius and she understands what's going on. She has to put in double the effort, because if she, for example, doesn't study one day for an exam, she will not do well on that. So she has to put in that effort to do well. And so the main sort of like conflict between her and the, you know, the male lead is that he's able to do all this effortlessly, and she feels like he's always like making fun of her and looking down on her. And she just has this like dynamic between like, every time I'm up there and I'm doing the best, I look to my left and he's doing the best as well, and he's getting more recognition from it because he's rich, because he's powerful, because this and that. And one of the like underlying like, boom, this is what progresses the plot forward, is that even with the scholarship, with one is not even a full scholarship, the school is still making her family pay quite a bit of money, and they are struggling to do so. But it reaches to a point where they're like, hey, like, we can't afford to pay this anymore, especially considering the fact that they've raised tuition. And it's like this dynamic between, oh, we can choose like these cheaper options where you'd have to do like what's called the Gaokao, and it's this very rigorous exams that you have to take within China to go from a good high school to a good college. And it's like majority of the student population is taking this, but if you go to a really nice private or international school, you don't have to take that. Your school is like good enough to be like, boom, go to your Yale, go to your Harvard, go to whatever top school you want to go to. And she knows that if she cannot continue going to this school, sure, she could like study and try and beat those odds, but it would be so much more of a like a struggle between doing that struggle, and you can already say like, oh, I already go to this nice school, and doing this struggle and being at an unknown, not very well school. So the main conflict for this is, how can I get enough money to pay for this tuition? Because if I don't, I will lose this opportunity and this chance, and I will have to go to a different, not as well positioned school. So definitely not as high stakes as I'd say Red Queen. This isn't life or death, but it's her future. It's all the dreams and hopes that she has. It's not wanting to let down her parents, who were sort of like double immigrants in a way, that she originally grew up. This is like also parts of this are like inserts from the own author's life, where she's like originally from China. They moved to America. They spent some time there. They had to deal with racism. They had to deal with it being expensive, moving back to China. So it's like she has this weird position in life where she has bits of identities from all different places, and still like while she doesn't feel completely at home, China's definitely where she has more of that like, oh, I'm here. This is where family is. And I really don't want to lose that, because one of the options was send her back to China to live with her aunt and go to maybe a public school or something. But it's like she loses a lot that way. She becomes the other when she's in the US, whereas in China, she's Chinese, obviously. So it's like she's there, she's home. And it's to feel that like that distance between like, oh, here I'm just like everyone else. If I go back there, I'm the other, I'm the odd one out, even when I'm already an odd one out at my school here in China. So it's very like low stakes conflict if you're thinking like, oh, I want like big drama and whatnot. But I still think that this book is really good. To keep it spoiler free, she like discovers something about herself and is like, I can utilize this in a way to help me pay off the tuition to help continue to go to school. And it's like, how far is she willing to go with what she has to like make this money and to put herself and her future first? Is she willing to ruin the lives of other people? So that's sort of like the setup for this. Very, very good book. I liked it. I'm actually going to try and keep it entirely spoiler free for this review, because it's really just like you just have to read it to find out what's the main caveat. Actually, doesn't mention it. I feel like it does in its little thing. Okay, yes, it says it in its blurb. She can turn invisible, so she utilizes that to, spy on people, to find out what's going on. Oh, is your dad cheating on you? I'll go look for you. Oh, is like so-and-so paying someone to come up with their homework ideas? I'll do that for you. You need exam answers for the very intense midterms that are coming up? I'll do that for you. You want me to put someone in harm's way? Oh, suddenly it's different. Suddenly it's, I know this person, I go to school with them, I know their family loves them. Am I willing to put them and their family through this pain and hurt to push myself forward? Boom. Conflict, resolution, plot points. It's a good book, y'all. Stop playing. And the chemistry between the two little romance is believable. No, I get it. He's enamored by her, and she thinks that it's like, oh, like, but he's like a little low key about it. But I think when you get to a certain point in the book where it's like, I look up and like his cheeks are tinged pink and he won't stop staring at me, and I'm like confused. Girl, why are you confused? He wants you bad. He wants you bad. You bagged it. And that's not even a spoiler, y'all, because she starts hinting at that at like page 30. So clock it. Don't even be in there like, that's a spoiler. I didn't know he had feelings for her. You can clock it so easily. First 20 pages, she's like, oh, like, I look at him and I'm like, it's already bad enough that you think you're better than me and yada yada yada. Did you have to take this from me? He's like, I never said I thought I was better than you. And you're like, is that so? So it's very cutesy. I do think that the main conflict feels a bit rushed because it's positioned near the end of the book, but not in a we're setting up for a sequel way. I think this is the only book, so it's one complete story, but sort of in the oops, I should probably like wrap up this conflict so that you guys can have a little bit of the romance type of thing. And I think maybe if the bigger conflict had started a little earlier and like there was more like romantic build up, and then there was this period at the end where it's like, and now this is her life now. This is how the dynamic between the two of them is now. I feel like there was event, time skip mid-conflict. Okay, this is how I'm going to resolve this. Conflict ends, time skip, hey, we're in a relationship. Whoa. That's a lot of time skipping around. Like it gets to a point where you start a new chapter, like, wait, what happened with this? Where are we? And it's like condensed in this first beginning of the chapter. You're like, but I wanted to see that. I wanted to, hey, that's not very nice. Wait, that's not very nice of you. I wanted to see what actually happened. So it's like, same little thing with like Red Queen, where it's like, we get to the end and we're like, wait, we have to finish. Just vibe, twin. Just vibe. But overall, 4 out of 5. I'd recommend you want something cute, you want something a little intriguing, but you don't want to like raise your blood pressure over it. I would recommend If You Could See the Sun. And other than that, currently, I won't spend too long in it because this video is long enough. I am reading Heartless by... Who's Heartless by? Retweet. I can't remember right now. I could probably pull it up on my Kindle. But, it's one of those books that I think became really popular until a lot of people already know about it. And, you know me, I'm going to be late to it. Heartless is by Marissa Mayer. Red Queen is by Victoria Aveyard. Oopsies! You know what? We live and we learn. But I won't say too much because I'm still in the beginnings of it. But girl, this main character low-key making me cringe. But I'm going to push through. I'm going to see how I like the book because that's who I am. If I really can't finish it, then that's one thing. But I think I can push through. Just for like, from like the little whispers that I've heard of what the character does become, I'm going to try and push through to see that growth and to see that development. But right now, she on thin ice. She is on thin ice. But with that, before I wrap up this video, I do want to do a little promo because if you don't know, I own a sort of like handmade body care, skincare, soaps, creams, butters business called Chelsea Suds. And just recently we released a peppermint scented handmade cold process soap. It's literally the cutest thing ever, and it's a very limited batch. Perfect for the holiday season. I have 10 in stock right now, and I always leave the link to that business in the description below. So if you're interested, go and check it out. Go holla at your girl. It's cutesy. It's perfect for the holidays. Very festive, very cheerful, and I just really like making soaps and things from scratch. So it's a really fun endeavor that I've been doing whilst I'm here at college. And with that, damn, my tea cold. I forgot about it. Let me take a sip. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you've made it this far. I am a critical yapper when it comes to books and things that I'm interested in. So truly, I didn't even realize the time had flown by like this. But if you stuck around and if you watched all this, I would love to hear your thoughts on these books in the comment section below. And based off of what I've said, if there are any book recommendations you have, definitely also put those in the comment section below. I still have quite a few books on my reading list to get through. I'm going to get through Heartless, I'm going to get through Poppy War, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, etc., and then I'll start diving into the other books that I'm interested in. And if you'd like to continue to see more videos like this and continue to hear my thoughts on the books that I'm reading, let me know by liking this video, by leaving a comment. And if you like me and you think I'm funny, why not hit the subscribe video so you're here and you're ready when the next video comes out. Well, thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.